Too many leaders lead for validation, not impact, for what they can get out of it more than what they can give to it. Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm obsessed with how leaders grow and develop, and I too have insecure moments. We all do. Glad you're here with me now on the Sight Shift podcast so you can learn how to lead for impact, not validation. Welcome to session 9, Lead for Impact. Too many leaders lead for validation, not impact. Now, we ended the last episode with, after we build awareness, we realize we got this 4-minute mile. We want to become something greater. We need an identity shift. And an identity shift is always going to be a part of what we learned about other societies, how they would have a ritual or a system or a process for that identity shift. Now, I love watching people be great. I love sports moments where people are great. I love hearing stories about people being great and how they care for others. But ultimately, greatness has to be conditioned through a system. I love learning about the systems and the processes that set up the greatness, that it's not just one fluke moment where somebody was able to wing it into greatness, but instead it was a combination of how they approached things to build a system. I think about it like with date night. Date night doesn't mean our relationship is corporate. Date night gives a context for us to continually connect with my wife. My best self can show up to it. I can lead for impact or I can lead for validation. And my worst self can show up to that. But it's the system that allows this context for the relationship to grow. Here is the question. It's not just about pursuing greatness. It's not just about teaching tools in leadership or skills in leadership or hyped mindsets that we try to get from the outside in. Leadership at its best is taking the beauty of all that we've talked about and putting it into a container, a ritual, a process, a system. You've heard it said in different ways, but people will sink to their training, not rise to the occasion. Edward Deming. A bad system will beat a good person every day. You personally, you need a leadership operating system. And I'm going to give you the elements of a good leadership operating system. Your team needs a leadership operating system. Your organization needs a leadership operating system. This is individual and communal. Why? Because what we're going to do is we're going to take the awareness of what it means to lead for impact and we're going to bolt that down and put it into a system so that the change just keeps happening. So that we're not just showing up at our best on our best days of leadership, but at our worst days of leadership, our baseline has changed. Now, you need 3 elements to have this happen. To have a leadership operating system, these 3 elements are going to keep your imagination captured, keep you in a place that your curiosity is engaged. You're going to keep being that leader who learns to pay attention to rightly balance the values in impact, to take that right action and end suffering and that right motive where your doubts are providing you a context for growth. You're not there for you, you're there for them. 1 is measurement. Measurement. There needs to be a glance of reality in the mirror. You know, when you're at dinner with somebody and you see a piece of food on their teeth, and you could tell them, hey, that piece of food is in your teeth. But how do you feel if you go in the mirror and then you got a giant piece of food and nobody told you? Like, it's so hard to get real feedback on your leadership because most people are in a context where they're leading for validation, not impact. There's a proving and hiding in them. So they can't really see you for who you are, where you are. They don't have a vision of your full potential. So measurement will help you do that. Measurement will give you a view in the mirror. And there's a lot of different ways to start the process of measurement. It can be a conversation where you're trying to draw out feedback. It can be some kind of assessment that you take. But an assessment in itself is incomplete if it's just measuring like personality, because that can really just be psychological defense. I'll hit that in the next episode. You want a measurement the best it can to give you a view of who you can be. A real measurement is showing you not just something you already know about yourself, but expands you into a new consciousness. Find out how to get it. I mean, the number of ways I've cobbled together measurement for myself over the years, reading tons, listening to stories, realizing, oh my gosh, I just had a big win and I'm going to come into the house full of adrenaline and be a terrible dad right now. I got that awareness from hearing a story. And the guy was telling a story in the sense that he did something right. But I heard his story and went, no, he did something wrong. Anyway, you got to find a way to get that view in the mirror, measurement. Number 2, you need to model you can sink into. An organizing model in your head, in your heart, that really quickly you can orient with. I mean, the challenge and nature of living, period, is that we have so many inputs, and making sense of everything requires so much cognitive mental effort. It's why we're so drained. It's why we make bad decisions. It's why we do things with a lack of awareness, and we look back and we go, hindsight is the best foresight. Man, I would do that different. So your brain processes around metaphor. And we know this in lots of different ways. And if you're not actively surfacing the metaphor of your brain and upgrading the metaphor, you'll only be as effective as the current way you would describe your leadership, your problem, your suffering, or your challenges. Think about it this way. Right now, I'm in a situation that is like blank. What would you fill in the blank? Well, that's the organizing metaphor for your problem. I need a model that helps me to continue to upgrade the metaphor. What is that model? Well, I have one I'm going to share with you in a minute. But a lot of people have a different way of expressing this. Their model might be servant leadership. It's great. How can I serve the other? The only problem with servant leadership is if you're so about the other that you never get the transformation you need. I love servant leadership when it's defined well and understood well. A model might be for you any kind of something out there that you've resonated with in a book or an approach. All of that is good. Just make sure it's complete. And the way that you make sure it's complete is that it can handle the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world we live in, as the military says. So not only do you need a measurement, you need a model, you need a method. A method of leading that maps onto your life and your organization so it continues to stay relevant. You need something that reinvents itself in the rhythms of your life so that you don't get to the edge of your curiosity or humility. Very simply, measurement, model, method. Now, you can go build one. You can. Or you can use ours. I'm going to walk you through it real quick, and this is going to help you find a way to lead no matter where you find yourself. First, we have a measurement. Our measurement measures who you are, where you are, and why you approach leadership the way that you do. We call it the IFQ. And in measuring people and giving them this deep view of themselves and their team, we're able to help them anticipate where the struggles are going to come, where they're more likely to fail tests, where they're more likely to do things, the wrong action or the wrong motive that keep them from having the impact they seek. We also have a model. We have a model that we offer to people as a way to think about their individual leadership and their whole company. And the model that we talk about, the model that we describe, is be the tree. That's the model of leadership that we offer. So most people have a leadership process that is like a hot air balloon, a circus, or a leaky ship. It could be like the hot air balloon. They get lots of inspiration, lots of hype, but the winds of change swirl around it and that balloon crashes down. They come in with a lot of energy at the beginning, but it doesn't finish. A lot of people have a leadership development process in their life or in their company like a circus. We just keep going through the motions. We just figure out a way to keep going from meeting to meeting. Maybe we just interject a little bit of encouragement here and there, but we're not really seeing transformation. We're not seeing the real definition of leadership, which is not empathy, mindfulness, or psychological safety, but leaders who build leaders. Some leadership environments are like a leaky ship. They're trying to get somewhere, but there's hidden surface or hidden things underneath the surface that are dragging this ship down. The insecurity of the leader, the out of balance values, the unaware motives, all of these things that really shape an environment and a culture to be either just off a little bit to keep them from their extreme impact or off a lot. So our measurement's the IFQ. Our model is to not be the balloon, not be the circus, not be the leaky ship, but to be the tree. The tree at the root system learns who they are, team and company people, trunk, so that they're very effective in their doing, fruit, effective in their relating. So they continually move from dread to sacrifice at the root level, at the trunk level, from anger to calm, and at the fruit level, from bitter to caring. This is how we keep ourselves aware. We check ourselves with the validation check, And then we move towards these other three by being leaders of impact, not validation, to be the tree. And if you're going to have an effective process, not only is it a model you could sink into, but it's a method. It's a method that you can map onto your life, wherever you find yourself, and it helps you build the kind of culture that you want around you. And for us, I'm going to dive into the method just for a moment right now. But before I do, the idea that I hope you leave this journey with is that in any moment you find yourself, you can ask yourself this powerful question: am I leading for validation or impact? Is what I'm about to say or do for validation or impact? That's what it means to turn your leadership chaos into order. Now, we help people do this all the time in small, medium, and big ways, to turn from amateur to pro, from pro to elite. Now, you think about what I might could do for you in this little journey we've been together. If you did all 10 episodes, whatever that is, it's 100 minutes of content. If I could do that for you in 100 minutes of content, what could I do for your team? What could I do for your culture? Why? Because we have a method. We have our leadership operating system that provides the measurement, the model that we're trying to take you through, and the method. And the method is this: I need an identity shift. The leaders who lead for the long haul, who build leaders, learn that their identity is more than any simple part of who they are. Their race, their gender, their creed, their sexuality. Their identity is more than their experiences. Their identity is more than their accomplishments. And society hasn't given you an identity shift. You don't know who you really are. And when you want to learn who you really are, our method of leading is to help leaders go through a process to discover a secure identity so that they show up with a clarity of mission, and they then can impact and build their community. At the root level of who they are, they get a secure identity. Into the tree, the trunk, they have clarity and mission. And at the fruit level, they are actively building the community they want to be a part of. They have a horizon shift of who they can become. They have a head shift. They become systemic in the way that they develop and build other leaders. And they have a heart shift. Wherever they find themselves frustrated, they understand it's just pruning the tree. They're getting better as leaders. If you want more on that, you can go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com. Build a leadership operating system. Build a process so your people will not rise to the occasion just based on heroic moments, but they'll sink to their training. Or you can use ours. Peace. Thanks for joining me on this episode. There's always more for you at SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, to be the leader you were meant to be.